Everyone knows pirates were fearsome fighters, but their greatest victories came from their brains, not their brawn. A small pirate crew could take down a ship 3 times their size, but first, they had to spot the perfect opportunity. Forget what you've seen in movies. Pirates weren't just random attackers looking for any ship that crossed their path. They were calculating hunters who developed an intricate science of selecting their targets, especially when going after ships that massively outweighed their own vessels. The first rule of target selection was studying ship behavior. Pirates would position themselves at strategic points along busy trade routes, often hiding behind small islands or in sheltered coves. From these vantage points, they'd observe dozens of ships daily, looking for specific signs of vulnerability. A ship that was riding high in the water typically meant it was running empty on supplies. If the sails were patched or the hull showed recent repairs, it suggested the vessel had already faced trouble at sea. The most prized targets were the stragglers. When large merchant convoys passed through known shipping lanes, pirates watched for ships that fell behind or strayed from the group. These isolated vessels were prime targets, especially if they were struggling to keep pace. As one captured merchant captain wrote in his log, "We had fallen 2 hours behind the convoy due to a damaged rudder. That delay cost us everything." Pirates developed an impressive understanding of trade patterns and timing. They knew exactly when ships from different trading companies would be heaviest with cargo. Spanish treasure galleons, for instance, typically sailed with maximum loads during the summer months, while East India Company vessels often carried their richest cargoes in early spring. This knowledge helped pirates position themselves in the right place at the right time. Weather conditions played a crucial role in target selection. After major storms, pirates actively searched for ships that had been separated from their convoys or damaged by rough seas. These vessels were often desperate for assistance, making them easy to approach. Some pirate crews even tracked seasonal storm patterns to predict where damaged ships might be found. The size of the target ship mattered less than its condition and crew. Pirates paid close attention to how well a ship was maintained and how its crew behaved. A large vessel with a disorganized crew was often an easier target than a smaller, well-run ship. They looked for telling signs: sloppy sail trim, poorly maintained decks, or irregular watch patterns. These details suggested a crew that might be easier to overwhelm. One of the most important aspects of target selection was assessing the crew's likely morale. Pirates knew that a crew's will to fight often depended on their voyage length. Ships nearing the end of long journeys typically had exhausted crews who were more likely to surrender without a major fight. They'd look for signs like sluggish sail handling or minimal deck activity, which suggested a tired crew. Consider the case of the notorious pirate Benjamin Hornigold. He once described his ideal target as a rich ship at the end of a long voyage, handled by a crew more interested in reaching home than defending their cargo. His success rate was remarkable. Of the 28 ships he targeted over 2 years, 24 surrendered without significant resistance. Time of day also influenced target selection. Pirates often chose to approach their prey during specific hours when they knew crew alertness would be at its lowest. Dawn attacks were particularly effective, catching crews during shift changes when watches were often less attentive. But finding the perfect target was just the beginning. The real challenge lay in what came next. Their next big challenge is getting close enough to attack without scaring their prey away. This is where pirates truly earned their reputation as masters of deception. They didn't just charge in waving their black flags, they were more subtle than that. The false flag trick was their favorite play. Pirates kept a whole collection of different flags in their cargo hold, ready to pose as any nation's merchant vessel. A French merchant ship would be much more likely to let a supposed fellow French trader get close. One crafty pirate captain, Charles Vane, reportedly had 17 different national flags aboard his ship. He'd switch between them like a kid changing Halloween costumes, becoming whatever nationality would work best for each target, but flags were just the beginning. Pirates went all out with their disguises. They'd hide their extra guns under canvas, stow their cutlasses below deck, and even dress their crew in merchant sailor clothes. Some crews got so good at this act that they could sail right up to their target while having a fake tea party on deck, complete with crew members pretending to be wealthy passengers. Location played a huge role in their traps. Pirates knew every hidden cove and blind spot along their hunting grounds. They'd hide behind small islands, waiting for ships to pass by. The geography around the Caribbean islands was perfect for this. Lots of small cays and inlets where a pirate ship could lurk unseen until the last possible moment. One of my favorite historical accounts describes a merchant captain's log entry. Rounded the point near Nassau, only to find a pirate vessel waiting. They must have been there for days, hidden like a spider in its web. The wounded bird trick was another clever tactic. Pirates would pretend their ship was in distress, sails torn, flying distress signals, crew members waving frantically for help. Kind-hearted merchant captains would approach to offer assistance, only to find themselves surrounded by suddenly well-armed and very healthy pirates. It was the maritime equivalent of playing dead, and it worked surprisingly often. Some pirates took deception to incredible levels. There's a documented case from 1718 where a pirate crew actually split up into two ships. The first ship pretended to be a merchant vessel under attack by pirates, the second ship. When target vessels came to help the merchant, both pirate ships would turn on them. Talk about a double cross. The really sneaky part is that pirates would sometimes spend weeks building their traps. They'd establish fake trading posts on small islands, complete with what looked like legitimate business operations. Passing ships would stop to trade, only to discover too late that the entire setup was fake. One infamous pirate, Henry Morgan, once captured an entire Spanish fort and used it as a base to lure in passing ships for nearly a month before anyone caught on. Pirates sometimes used music as part of their traps. They'd play popular sea shanties and merchant sailing songs, making their ships sound like a friendly vessel having a good time. Nothing says definitely not pirates like a crew singing "What Shall We Do with the Drunken Sailor" at full volume. But perhaps the most brilliant part of pirate deception was their use of information. They'd interrogate captured sailors about shipping signals, passwords, and protocols, building up a detailed database of how legitimate ships communicated with each other. By the time they went after their next target, they could perfectly mimic the behavior of whatever type of ship they were pretending to be. Of course, deception was just one card in the pirates' hand, and like any good card player, they always had an ace up their sleeve. Pirates' greatest weapon wasn't their cannons or cutlasses, it was their ship's speed. Their vessels were specifically chosen or modified for quickness. They'd strip away heavy decorations, reduce the number of cannon, and even reshape their hulls to cut through water faster. One captured pirate ship, the Adventure Prize, was found to have had its entire stern cabin removed just to make it lighter and faster. You'd be amazed how much thought pirates put into the winds and currents. They'd position themselves upwind of their target, giving them control over the engagement. That way, they could zoom in for a quick hit and retreat before the bigger ship could turn its broadside cannons. Some clever pirates even used the target ship's own wake to gain extra speed, riding the displacement wave like a surfer. A detail most people don't know is that pirates rarely aim to sink ships. That would be like blowing up a bank vault. You destroy the very thing you're trying to steal. Instead, they aimed for the parts that would cripple the ship's movement. The rudder was a favorite target. One solid hit there, and even the biggest ship would start spinning like a broken compass. The real art was in the coordinated attack patterns. Pirates would weave back and forth across their target's stern, staying in the blind spot where the big ship's guns couldn't reach. They called this raking the stern, though personally, I think death by 1,000 paper cuts would have been more accurate. Each pass would tear up the ship's controls, sails, and crew morale. Some of the most successful pirates used what they called the wasp attack. They'd dart in close, fire a few shots, and zip away before the larger ship could respond. After a few passes, they'd attack from a different angle, keeping the defender guessing. The big ship's crew would be running from one side to another, never knowing where the next hit would come from. One Spanish captain's log complained, "These devils never stay still long enough to fight properly." Pirates would also time their attacks for when the wind and waves would work against their larger opponents. A big ship rolling in heavy seas couldn't aim its guns properly, while the smaller pirate vessels could bob and weave through the waves. During one famous chase in 1718, a pirate sloop managed to escape a Royal Navy warship by sailing straight into a squall that the larger ship couldn't risk entering. The clever part was how pirates used psychology in their maneuvers. They knew that a ship's crew would focus on the most obvious threat, so they'd often attack in pairs. While the big ship was dealing with one pirate vessel in front, another would sneak up from behind. By the time the target realized what was happening, it was too late to reposition their guns. Pirates sometimes used their superior maneuverability just to wear out their opponents. They'd keep a larger ship turning and adjusting course for hours, knowing that working the sails on a big vessel was exhausting. By the time they finally moved in close, the defender's crew would be too tired to put up much of a fight, but even the most brilliant maneuvers were just the prelude. Because once pirates had their target pinned down and exhausted, that's when the real terror began. A tired ship was a vulnerable ship, and pirates had turned boarding into a ruthless science. Their methods weren't random. Every move was calculated to make their small numbers count. Grappling hooks led the charge. Pirates kept dozens of these nasty little tools ready, each one attached to strong hemp ropes. The most skilled pirates could throw these hooks with scary accuracy, often landing them on the first try. One recovered pirate ship had over 30 different types of grappling hooks, each designed for a specific purpose, from latching onto railings to snagging rigging. The first wave usually wasn't the fighters, it was the smoke makers. Pirates would toss small barrels of burning pitch and sulfur onto the enemy deck. The smoke wouldn't just blind the defenders, it would make them cough and choke too. In the logbook of a Dutch merchant ship captured in 1718, the captain wrote, "The devils sent their foul smoke first, and by the time we could see again, they were already among us." Pirates attacked from multiple points at once. While the main group charged up the sides, smaller teams would sneak aboard from the bow and stern. The defenders never knew where to focus their attention. One pirate crew even trained their ship's monkey to carry a small rope across to the target vessel, probably the world's first commando monkey. Pirates deliberately tried to look as scary as possible during boarding. They'd blacken their faces with powder, tie lit fuses into their beards, and make the most terrifying noises they could manage. One captured sailor's account mentions that the pirates screamed like banshees and looked like demons. Talk about taking workplace dress-up day too far. The most successful boarding actions took less than 3 minutes. Speed was everything. Pirates knew that a long fight worked against them. They'd practice their boarding moves like a deadly dance routine, each person knowing exactly where to go and what to do. The famous pirate Bartholomew Roberts had his crew drill boarding tactics every Sunday, which I guess counts as team-building exercise, pirate style. Weapons during boarding were chosen for close-quarters fighting. Pirates preferred short swords and pistols over longer weapons that could get caught in the rigging. They'd often carry multiple loaded pistols, firing them once and then using them as clubs. Reloading took too long in the heat of battle. The record holder was a pirate named Henry Johnson, who supposedly carried 6 loaded pistols into every fight. The smartest pirates targeted the officers first. Take out the leadership, and the rest of the crew often lost their will to fight. They'd identify officers by their clothing and behavior, sometimes having studied their targets for days before the attack. One clever pirate crew even kept a collection of stolen officer uniforms, which they used to spot what high-ranking sailors looked like. The most effective boarding parties worked in teams of 3, one to fight, one to watch their back, and one to search for valuable cargo information. While the fighting was happening on deck, these search teams would head straight for the captain's cabin, looking for maps, cargo manifests, and sailing schedules. This information was often more valuable than the cargo itself. It helped them plan their next several attacks, but taking a ship was only half the battle. What happened next would prove that pirates were skilled at planning. When the fighting stopped, the real work began. Pirates didn't just grab everything shiny and run, they had a sophisticated system for securing and processing their captured prizes. You might be surprised to learn that most successful pirate crews operated more like a well-oiled business than a chaotic band of thieves. The first order of business? Securing the ship. Pirates would immediately separate the captured crew, usually sending them below deck under guard. The ship's officers would be held separately, not just to prevent them from organizing resistance, but because they knew all the ship's secrets. One Spanish captain complained in his ransom letter that the pirates knew about his hidden gold cache before they even asked him about it. The most efficient crews could strip a merchant ship of its valuable cargo in under 2 hours. They worked in specialized teams. Some pirates did nothing but search for secret compartments, while others were experts at quickly transferring cargo between ships. They also kept detailed manifests of everything they took. It wasn't just about keeping track of loot. These records helped them know which ports would buy which goods. A recovered pirate ledger from 1719 shows they even tracked market prices in different ports. Who knew pirates were such careful accountants? Smart pirates always took the navigation equipment first. Charts, compasses, and especially detailed maps were sometimes worth more than gold. They'd also grab any letters or documents they could find, not for ransom, but for intelligence about other potential targets. One clever crew built up an entire network just by piecing together information from captured ships' mail. The really valuable stuff wasn't always what you'd expect. Sure, pirates loved finding gold and silver, but they got especially excited about practical items. Fresh water, medical supplies, and replacement parts for their ships were worth their weight in gold out at sea. They'd even steal the cook if he was good. Several famous pirate ships had chefs they'd recruited from captured vessels. But the most surprising thing about pirate plunder, they rarely damaged the ships they captured. Unlike what you see in movies, pirates often tried to keep captured ships in good condition. A well-maintained prize could be sold, used as a backup vessel, or even become the new flagship if it was better than their current ship. One pirate crew famously upgraded ships 3 times in a single month, each time taking a bigger and better vessel. Pirates developed clever tricks for finding hidden valuables. They'd measure the depth of the hold against the ship's waterline to spot false floors. Some crews kept cats on board, not just for catching rats, but because cats would often seek out hiding spots where frightened sailors had stashed valuables. One pirate captain wrote proudly about his treasure-finding feline in his logbook. The most successful pirates understood that information was valuable too. They'd question the crew about other ships' movements, trading patterns, and defensive weaknesses. A captured sailor's gossip about a rich cargo coming from Jamaica could be worth more than anything found in the ship's hold. Some pirate captains became so good at collecting intelligence that they could predict the movement of valuable targets months in advance. Organization was key to quick plunder. Pirates used color-coded flags to signal what they'd found: red for weapons, yellow for food, black for valuable cargo. This system let them coordinate between ships without shouting and alerting nearby vessels. They even had specific signals for different types of resistance, letting other pirate ships know what to expect if they took over the prize. But for all their skill at taking prizes, what's really smart about pirates ran much deeper than just their plundering tactics. Because it was about having a crew that worked like a well-oiled machine, pirates developed systems that turned their smaller numbers into an advantage. Their first brilliant move was specialization. Every crew member had a specific role during attacks on larger ships. Some were expert marksmen who focused on taking out enemy officers. Others were masters at cutting rigging to slow down bigger vessels. One recovered pirate ship's logbook shows they even had crew members whose only job was to study the weak points of different types of large vessels. Democratic decision-making played a huge role in their success against bigger ships. Unlike naval crews who blindly followed orders, pirate crews discussed and voted on how to approach large targets. This meant every attack plan included input from the entire crew. One French naval report complained that pirate ships seemed to think as one mind during attacks, while larger ships often had confusion in their ranks. Their reward system was specifically designed to encourage bold action against bigger opponents. Extra shares were given to the first person to spot a weakness in a large ship's defense. The first to board a bigger vessel got bonus pay. They even had rewards for crew members who came up with innovative ways to take down larger ships. Henry Morgan's crew once voted to give their carpenter 3 extra shares for designing a new type of grappling hook that could better catch onto tall ship sides. Training focused heavily on techniques for fighting larger vessels. New crew members spent weeks learning the weak points of different ship types. They practiced coordinated attacks where small groups could overwhelm larger gun crews. The famous pirate Black Bart made his crew practice boarding techniques on their own ship, using different heights to simulate boarding larger vessels. Pirates kept detailed records of what worked against different sizes of ships. They analyzed every victory and defeat against larger opponents, creating a growing playbook of effective tactics. One recovered pirate journal included diagrams showing exact points to target on various large ship designs, with notes about successful attacks. Their rules and organization were all about maximizing their advantages against bigger opponents. Fighting between crew members was strictly forbidden because they needed everyone in top shape for taking on larger ships. Gambling was banned because they needed alert, well-rested crews. One pirate captain had a rule that anyone caught drunk during an attack on a large vessel would be left at the next port. Information sharing was crucial to their success. Pirates built networks to learn about the weaknesses of different large ships. They'd pay handsomely for details about the crew size, gun positions, and defensive tactics of bigger vessels. Some crews even had former naval officers who taught them the standard responses large ships used against pirates. But their greatest strength was unity. When attacking a ship 3 times their size, every crew member knew their role and trusted their teammates completely. They fought like one coordinated unit against larger, less organized forces. A captured naval officer once wrote that fighting pirates was like facing one skilled fighter rather than a group of individuals. These lessons about teamwork and organization would echo through history, showing how smaller, well-organized forces could triumph over much larger opponents, turning their small crews into precision instruments that could cut down even the mightiest ships at sea.